Hey guys, Drifter here. Today I want to talk about the submachine guns in Call of Duty World War II because the SMGs were incredibly important in the beta. They were arguably the most versatile, most used, and most popular and/or best class in the game by most of the players. So when you sit down to play the game, one of the first questions you're going to ask yourself is, what is the best SMG in the game? Which is what we're talking about here today. I got a little MP40 gameplay for you from E3 just because I thought it would be interesting to watch, though that wasn't in the beta, so we can't compare it to many of the other guns. We're going to keep most of the conversation to the beta guns, and today I'm going to be talking largely from opinion, not on super hard in-depth facts, because I didn't get the opportunity to test every weapon. The beta wasn't a controlled thing with private lobbies, so I couldn't test if I really wanted to, and it's liable to change before the game comes out. So starting off, let's talk about the grease gun. In the beta, the grease gun was the lowest rate of fire submachine gun by far. It had moderate recoil. Its per shot kick was pretty high, but thankfully it didn't kick too much because it didn't shoot too fast, and it probably had the highest damage of all the submachine guns, almost certainly the best range. Kind of a small magazine though. This one was your high damage long range SMG. It got more 3-shot kills in my experience than any other SMG in the game, and it felt like it was one of the ones designed for challenging at moderate ranges. It greatly rewarded accuracy. That's how most low rate of fire high damage weapons do. If you're really accurate and you hit all 3 shots in a row, you can chunk people. If you start missing a bit, things get a lot spookier. Of note about the grease gun, Michael Condrey said it had the highest KD in the beta, though this was before the level cap was raised and the Thompson was out. So it was the highest KD compared to every other SMG except the Thompson, which we don't have data for. And personally, I found this one to be one of my favorites. This was one of my go-to try-hard weapons, and it was very fun when I used it, and I didn't find it to be very hard to use. Moving along, we have the PPSH. The PPSH had a moderate rate of fire. It wasn't as fast as you think. It had moderate to high recoil. The damage was pretty good for the most part, and it had a larger than average magazine. The PPSH was by far the most popular SMG. It was one of the ones that you unlocked earlier on, and it seemed to be average or maybe slightly better than average in most situations, but it was bad at no situations and it was excellent in no situations. It was kind of a jack of all trades SMG, definitely best with extended mags. Had a very large magazine. This was the gun that probably killed me more than anything else in the beta just because it was the most popular. A lot of people got comfortable with it, and I think if you're going to play CoD World War II, you need to get used to killing PPSH users. That being said, I personally didn't like it very much. It didn't have a specialty, it didn't have a niche, it didn't have anything that made me feel very comfortable with it, so I didn't use it too often. After that, you have the Type 100, which is a low rate of fire, super low recoil, low damage and range, normal magazine weapon, but it also had almost no muzzle flash and good iron sights. It was incredibly easy to aim with and was essentially your high accuracy submachine gun. Given that high accuracy, it could be your long range submachine gun as well, even though the long range damage was nothing to write home about. While it didn't have a lot of good things when it comes to time to kill or DPS or raw damage, it had a ton of consistency. It had consistency in spades. I had a very good feel for the gun. I knew when it was killing people. I knew how many shots it would take, and it was very easy to get a good feel for. It was like a much better version of the SN6 from Advanced Warfare. A lot of times the accuracy SMGs end up really sucking to use because they don't have enough damage to compete, but I think the Type 100 was very competitive in that area, and I found it quite fun to use. One of my personal favorites, though I probably wouldn't use it outside of public lobbies. I don't think I could make it work in competitive. The next to last submachine gun to unlock was the woth, the WW 28. It had an insane rate of fire, approximately double that of the other submachine guns. It was almost 1,200 rounds per minute, which actually is more than double of the grease gun. It was just pure bananas. It had horrible everything else, horrible recoil, horrible sights, flash, magazine was normal, damage range terrible. But do you miss the Black Ops 2 Scorpion? Do you like to hip fire and bullet hose with your submachine gun? Is aiming down sights too hard for you? Well, then the woth is going to be the submachine gun for you, but good luck doing anything with it but just straight up spray and pray. It wasn't super fun for me to use. I guess I could put something cheeky like rapid fire on it and just make like a hose class, but in this particular beta, I didn't like it very much. I might like it more when the full game comes out and I get more confident with other weapons and I can use it to challenge, but as of now, I didn't enjoy the woth. The woth is just your straight close range damage pump of a weapon. It it offers very little else. Near the end of the beta, that is, as the level cap was raised, we finally got the Thompson submachine gun. The Thompson had a higher than average rate of fire. It had consistent but not low recoil. It did kick up a fair amount, but it was precise, it was predictable, and I felt that I could control it by pulling down, though if you let it go, it's a hot mess. The damage and range were pretty normal, and the magazine size was normal, though it is nice with extended mags. That's a nice benefit to it. And the Thompson is the closest competitor to the PPSH for your more versatile SMG. That's the reason that I chose it for this gameplay, because once the Thompson came out, the PPSH started losing popularity and a lot of people were running Thompsons. I think this one, personally, is a clear winner for best submachine gun in my experience. The rate of fire is high enough for me to hose people up close, for me to hip fire, for me to challenge. The damage is good enough for me to get close range kills for sure. Medium range works. Long range, actually, it's pretty awful for like long range. That's one thing the Thompson doesn't do. But close, medium, predictable recoil, usability, reasonably high rate of fire. I found the iron sights workable too. They could obviously be better or more perfect, but I didn't need optics on them. I didn't run them very much. And I think that the only things that it'll lose out on is it would probably lose to the WOF in like a point blank hip fire contest, and it would probably lose out to the grease gun and the Type 100 in a super long range contest. But if you're going to use submachine guns properly, which is close and medium, I feel like the Thompson offers the best balance of damage, reliability, rate of fire. You can challenge PPSH users. It's more of a skill contest. You can definitely outgun greasers and Type 100s, and you can outrange the WOF users. Just don't let them get too close to you. The Thompson for me was just like bread and butter. This is the gun that made sense, and this is the gun that I saw the most people using. So when you get your game and you do your pre-order bonus and you get your permanent weapon unlock, I think the Thompson would be a really, really smart choice for a lot of people. So at the end of the video, I did make a tier list of weapons. I think the Thompson was number one. If I wasn't going to use the Thompson, it would be grease gun, then the Type 100, then the PPSH, and finally with the WOF at the bottom. And I would like to mention that the MP40 was not bad at E3. Unfortunately, the MP40 wasn't included in the multiplayer beta, so we didn't get a proper community test. We don't know exactly how it's going to work or what we should be expecting from it, and well, in comparison to the other guns, but it certainly wasn't a garbage tier gun at E3, so I would expect it to be relatively competitive, and my personal guess is, since it was a pretty beastly gun in World War II, that it would be a higher tier submachine gun. Guys, that's all for this gameplay and for this commentary. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something useful. If you did, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. Drifter out.